Ah, today's number of the day is the number 8.
You heard right. This isn't 8 here, but in the 3 big boxes, it's 8 there. Really, it's 8 plus 1. Let's get to it. The story of a slew of Atari STs. These 9 Atari STs starts actually about 2-3 years ago, thereabouts, when I saw a seller on eBay who had a listing for a load of 1040 STs. Load meaning I think it was 4 or 5. And I was like, dude, I think I can fix those up. And so I put in a bid on it and reached out to the seller. And, he was a fantastic guy. We had a little back and forth rapport, and I ended up picking up the 1040 STs off of him. Made him an offer, and I got them and fixed them up, refurbished them. It would actually turn out to be a great transaction between him and me, right? Fast forward to today, or about a month ago, I see this Mega ST. Actually, it wasn't in this disassembled state. Saw it on eBay. It was it was listed for, I don't know, I don't even remember how much it was listed for. It was for some large amount, and I knew the seller. I was like, hey, you looking to sell that? And if you wouldn't mind opening up and let me know what's going on with it. And so we had getting back and forth with him again. He's like, oh yeah, I remember you. Blah 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 blah. Right. Well, turns out he reaches out to me and says, hey, I got a few more Atari STs. Would you like to buy them? And fast forward to now, and this is just one of the 8 1040 STs. I haven't even dug into them. I just barely opened the box right now. The Mega ST here, if you can't tell, the clock batteries, in reality they're AA batteries. They pooped all over this thing, and there's some pretty significant damage on the board. However, on a positive note, the thing does boot, and it runs Ultima 4. Most importantly, it can run Ultima 4. There's quite a bit of work that needs to be done to it. The ACSI, yeah, whatever. The SCSI type port, the hard drive port, does not work, and that could be largely because that's where the battery vomit went onto it. But let's dig into this, and what we're going to do today is just go through each Atari ST, because there's 8, and do some just quick testing, see where we're at, see what we had to work with, and then we'll probably end up having a video of a few fixes each, because this is going to take some time. All right, let's get to it, digging into these guys. Okay, we're going to start with the Mega ST. I just want to kind of just walk you through it. I'm getting it ready to boot up and to kind of test out, but we have the power supply. I have already tested the power supply. It does work. It outputs a fine voltage. It probably could use a recap or a replacement, but there's nothing urgent at this moment in time. Now, where is the damage? Well, if you look at the case, the AA batteries go back over here. The nice thing is, at least with the RF shielding, is that if you look at the RF shielding, right, it does block a lot of the goop from going on the board, but there still are some holes and still is a way for it to get on the board. So what I want to do is kind of just show you the green. Hopefully you can see that, right? That's on the keyboard connector. The keyboard connector does work on the other side, but I do need to get that cleaned off pretty soon. Look in the ASCI area on the board, the pins. That is a lovely shade of emerald green. And we'll need to do some cleaning on that board. There looks to be some damage as the acid pooled underneath. So there's likely some trace damage underneath on this side of the board. Luckily, well, I don't know if that's that bad. Luckily, because it keeps the hard drive from functioning. And it really kind of isolates it to this part of the board, which there's pluses and minuses. The other part is the cartridge port does not work. I have tried the diagnostics cartridge in it. It does not work. All right. But the most important test of all, it passes with flying colors. And we are going to show you that all-important test right now with this. And a lovely little 15 kilohertz capable monitor here. This is a fantastic Dell. And let's power on. The funny thing is that the floppy drive works just delightfully. It's not that loud either. Yes, there are jail bars. I'm not looking for perfection here, but we'll take a look. Actually, the one downside is that there are no speakers coming out. There won't be any audio. I should have thought of that before then, but it's fine. Here we go. It's also less reflective screen, so you can only barely see my shadow. There we go. It boots Ultima 4, the most important test of all. That is computer number 1, Mega ST. John put on these little notepads on these computers. Yes, it's pretty clear, no floppy, no PSU. I'll also put some notes on if there's any other troubleshooting that I can do. This one has no screws either, holding it shut, so obviously something that I'll need to take care of in the future. It is being held shut by some packing tape. But the case is looks like pretty good shape here. There's no real cracks or anything like that, so that's a good sign. Keyboard's intact. Pop that off. Ooh, I like that one. That's actually a later design. If you look at the RAM, where the RAM's located, this is a later design system. There's actually a really good 4 megabyte RAM upgrade for this version, this style of board. There we go. RF shielding off. We have that. We have this. We have loveliness, lovely Atari-ness. Why is that the case? Why is this not wanting to go in? All right, there we go. We have the PSU in. One other thing you can see here, we have the spot for the blitter. If I had a blitter for this guy. This is a later, like I said, this is a later board. And I'm actually surprised it's in one of these cases. This is an older case with a more recent board. Just an interesting point. Get the keyboard back on. Put it back in place. Make sure there's no grounding issues or shorting issues rather. And yes, be careful around the Atari ST power supplies that are open and exposed. And ready for the switch. Floppy drive seems to be loading. Screen is looking okay. There's still jail bars. They aren't as bad actually as on the Mega ST. They're still there. Yeah, the green LEDs also tells the story that this is a newer board. And we're booted in. There we go. Number 2 is down. All it needs is obviously a clean. The keyboard might need some work, but we need a new PSU, which that's easy peasy. We need a floppy drive. I'm probably going to put a Gotek in because the large button floppy drives are harder to come by and they seem to fail at a higher rate than the small button ones, at least in my experience. All right, let's get on to computer number 3 here. No floppy, power light, but no video, loose badge. Yes, loose badge. All right, so most likely that the power light, but no video, it's probably still a PSU issue in most instances. But it could be something else. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, again,
take a known working power supply, take the power supply out of this guy, to make sure that get rid of the two most common failure modes, floppy drive and power supply on these guys. There can be plenty of other things that can go wrong, but for the most part, 9 times out of 10, it's the power supply and then the floppy drive. And then there's, again, other things. Here we go. Now, this is a special thing. We have Rainbow Toss here. We have something that looks like it pooped over here. It looks like something weird, something nasty, gross. And a RAM upgrade. And something was done to the shifter. Not sure what. I'm interested to see why that was cut open. Let me just open it up real quick. Also, another spot for a blitter. So this is a soldered-in shifter. This is the absolute first time I have ever seen a shifter soldered in the board. Well, see something new every day. I know I've heard that they exist. Soldered-in shifter Atari ST boards do exist. And here's one. Now, I am not going to worry about that for the time being. We're just still going to go forward with this guy. Test him out. This looks like I'm gonna start this guy with, let me see here, the lovely diagnostic cart, because seeing that RAM expansion makes me think something is interesting in there. There's interesting things in there. This looks like this. It is. There needs to be a ground. And it appears that this wire may have been soldered to this ground, for this ground. I don't know. Yeah. Holy cow, this is a mess. Woo! That is one crazy upgrade. If you look underneath it, there are wires soldered to each one of the RAM areas. This is going to be a bit of a fun little guy. I'm going to lift this board off the table a little bit. There are so many Atari STs. STs for days. All right, got the keyboard in. We will get this plugged in. Power plugged in. And flip the switch. We have a power light. Oh! There's a little bit of interestingness on the screen here. We have 4 megabytes of RAM. 4 megs of RAM with this wacky RAM upgrade. There's, I don't know if you can see the little flickering. I don't think it's the screen itself. But we're going to power off, and I'm just going to, I don't want to run all the tests just yet. So one of the things, I bet I know what happened. This, I think I know what happened. Judging by the length of this floppy cord, it's pretty long, and the fact it was actually flipped over, I wouldn't be surprised if the last owner of this had replaced an Atari ST floppy drive with a modified PC floppy drive. That's my guess. Because this floppy cable doesn't look... Ooh. We have screen corruption. I don't know if I'm going to try to salvage this 4 megabyte upgrade or replace it with something else. It appears to be working. It just appears that there's something funky going on with the video output. Yeah. Looks perfectly normal with the exception of the corruption. It's the same kind of thing that we saw on the diagnostic cartridge. All right, cool. One more down. And it passes the ultimate test, at least mostly. Okay. This one is a little different than the others. Maybe you caught it, maybe you haven't. I can clearly read no floppy, no power. John, I hope you're watching this, but you missed one part. It's missing the keyboard. I don't see it on the note here. I wanted a note otherwise. All right, let's take this one apart. Open them up. And there is a power supply in there. Perfect. This is actually awesome. The thing that I love about this is even if the power supply is bad, the mounting bracket, the switch, the kettle plug port or input, whatever you want to call it, I can reuse these with the Meanwhile PSU relatively easily. If it doesn't have this platform, this support here, it makes it just a little bit, makes it a lot harder to get a new PSU in or refurbished PSU in here. So looking inside here, this one is the grossest of the bunch. Looked at like it had something living in it or, ooh, yuck, that's even crunchy. Ooh, yummy. Some kind of bug. Oh, there's something else back here too. Yummy. Okay, well, I don't think that's going to affect anything for the moment for the test. Ugh. This needs a clean. This is an older Atari STF board, 1040 STF. My guess, this is probably tossed at 1.0. Just judging by the configuration here. We have a socket and a shifter. And it looks like something, like I said, some little buggies were living inside this guy. This one did, like I said, it did have a PSU in it. I can use that, or yeah, it had a probably non-working PSU. All right. There we go. Floppy drive looks like it's working. Keyboard shows power light. It looks like it's working just fine. It's making all the right sounds. Video output's a little gobbledygook. It's noisier than the other Atari STs. All right, we'll return to the view. There we go. Yes, and this one passes the ultimate test too. Okay, I couldn't wait till tomorrow. Couldn't help myself. It's still Friday night. It's late, but that's okay. This is Atari 1040 ST number 4 or Atari ST number 5. So far, everything has worked, and you'll see it a little later on. I couldn't help myself also with the 4 megabyte RAM upgrade board. I just had to take a look at that one line that was attached to the ground point on the board and attached it to the point on the PCB, the RAM upgrade PCB that said ground. It looked like it was missing something. Soldered it to it, and I'll show you the image at some point. But you solder that image to it, or solder that line to it, and the image on the screen, poof, beautiful, perfect. All right, this one says good and working, but disassembled, no keyboard. And there's, a lot of screws in here. Oh, wonderful. Yes, he had mentioned that this is an ST to VGA. He was going to send me one. Thank you, John. Thank you so much. These are always very welcome because it also, when I do look to find a home for these guys, it'll be really helpful to have something like that to share with people. And we're back. Okay. So we have the floppy drive, this big chunky one. This is definitely one that requires 12 volts to run. And that is a really rusty top. You know, if this floppy drive works, I have plenty of these designed floppy drives that do not work that have much cleaner looks to them. They are in much better shape. Ooh. That was a tight fit. There we go. There we are. See, the one thing that this does not have, I do not see a plastic barrier between the stand and this guy. Even if this power supply works, I'm going to have to put something down between, maybe some Captain tape or something like that. I just don't like having, even though it's suspended, I just don't like having that there without anything covering it up. All right, so we're not going to test out that power supply until I do some stuff to make it a little safer. Going in. All right. Yeah. That floppy drive is not functional. Floppy drive wasn't fully plugged in. Let's make sure. Oh, here I go. I hear, no, I heard a little more activity from the floppy drive, but let's see. Nah. There might be something wrong with this guy. So we will see. I'll have to take a look at maybe the floppy controller chip. Okie dokie. I'll mark this guy up, put it away, and pull up the next one. All right, we've got the next one. Atari ST number 6. Atari 1040 ST number 5. And this is no PSU, no floppy, removed keys. Oh, looks like we have some piece of a case. We have the keycaps here. The keyboard. Now, wow, this is a dual toss situation. So this is a toss switcher. So this switches between toss 1.0 and 1.04. Cool, that's actually kind of cool. It's a bit janky, of course, and I'll probably have to change a few things. Nice thing is, though these are EEPROMs here, so I could always just recycle them. We got that toggle there. So I'm going to set that off to the side. Figure, how do I want to put this? Is there a hole in the back that they put? Nope, there's no hole. Good. Glad they didn't at least put a hole in the case. They didn't put a hole in the case. Oh, that darn it. That's unfortunate that that middle pillar is off. There's also some nasty gunk over here. Let me just make sure that looks, ooh. Ooh, that is a nasty spill. Oh, that's the piece of the case that was broken off. All right, we're just gonna, yeah, as you can see, there's the back case that was broken. There's all the gooey, gunky stuff. Yeah, the case was broken here too. All right, so this one is heavily damaged. Case broken there. Now let's get the floppy power over here. And this is going to be another one where I'm going to probably start with the diagnostic cartridge. And the reason being is that I want to make sure I know how this toss switcher is set to work. Because if it's causing problems, I don't want that to cause confusion with anything else as I'm testing it out. All right. We are here. 1 megabyte of RAM. We are TOS 1.4. So I'm going to flip the switch off. We're going to flip this toggle and see if that gets us to 1.0. Yeah, it's 1.0. Interesting. Cool. It's just, hey, see, with this many Atari STs all at once, I guess I shouldn't have been surprised that I'm going to see a bunch of new things. All right. We have Ultima. We're going to do the Ultima test now. Sounds like it's working just fine. You know, that toss switching is really interesting, right? So having a toss switcher, that's something that's great nowadays, but people came up with creative solutions to make it happen just by wiring it themselves. More British. Here we go. Just got to get the nice intro screen up. All right. That's another win. All right, this is ST number 6. We have a keyboard. We have a failed retro bright is what it looks like here. It is very mottled. I think this will be a good candidate for a spray paint job. We are missing the badge. My guess is this was gotten rid of when they did the bad retro bright job. This is another relatively modern one. As you can see here, we've got the more modern RAM style. We have a blitter chip expansion location here over here as well. And so let's take a look. Get the power supply back in here. There's nothing weird about this board other than there's a nice little spider cobweb thing here. Yuck. Gross. Whatever that is. And here we are. Now for the Ultima 4 test. We have power. I thought I saw a couple bombs. I'm seeing bombs. Let's see. Interesting. Nope. All right. That's not a terrible thing. It's trying to initialize. There's something. My guess is it's something as simple as that. I'll try one more time with a simple reseat of the ROM chips. We have our first, what appears to be dud. Well, it's not a dud. It just probably just needs a little bit of work. Okay. This is number 6, I think. No, number 7. Wow, there's a lot of these. All right, so this is absolutely disgusting. I am hoping that what you see on the outside didn't make it on the inside, because this is really kind of gross what we have out here. And let's just see if I can even get this case open. Feels like something, yeah, there we go. Okay. This is another newer motherboard. I don't see any significant damage. And this is one of the few that has an RF modulator on it. All the other ones did not. We have the blitter socket or blitter space. Board is a little dirty. It looks like what was gross on the outside did not leak on the inside. And zoom in on that. Yoink! And yeah, as you zoom in, wow, that is a dirty board. But at least it isn't like gross. What I will do is I will just gently bend these back into place. These are old computers. Some of these that I've seen in the past have had lives in educational areas, and in those instances, those are computers that were, I think, pretty abused. And power there. Monitor is on. Flip the switch. Just make sure we have everything situated properly. Okay, that is weird. So we're not even getting a light. Something's probably shorting out with this board. Not sure what. The fact I'm not even getting 5 volts on the keyboard. That is not good. Okay, we are on Atari ST number 8. This one is one of the better looking ones. At least it doesn't look as bad as the last one did. And it's missing the number 2 key, no PSU, no floppy. Let's take a look inside. Okay, this is probably the oldest board of the bunch, from what I can gather, looking at the design and layout. Actually, there was another one that's probably similarly old. let's do the Ultima test on it. Let's get the keyboard plugged in. I hear floppy access. It's sounding good. We have the white screen, lots of jail bars, a lot of noise. That's actually pretty typical with the earlier Atari 1040 STs and 520 STs. More video noise, at least from what I've seen. All right. Out of the 9 total Atari STs, including the Mega ST, we have 7 that passed the Ultima 4 test, and 2 that did not. 1 shows signs of life. It's got the 4 bombs as it tries to boot up and access the floppy drive. And then 1 that shows no sign of life. It shows signs of a short of some sort on the board because it doesn't look like the power is getting anywhere. All right, with a good power supply. All right, that's it for this Check Atari ST-a-thon. The next thing is we've got a couple Atari STs to repair or troubleshoot and figure out what the issue is and try to repair them. 2 of those. We have a Mega ST that needs some super cleaning and some I want to fix the ASCII port and that area over there, as well as the cartridge port, which isn't working on that. It seems like everything else is working on the Mega ST. And then just cleaning these things up and getting them ready to find new homes. I already have a couple of these over here. You may not recognize them outside of their cases, but I will be 3D printing some Actually, I've already 3D printed some homes for these. These are black. These will go in these cases like so. They will fit within the cases like so. And we have at least 2 Gotex to start with. We'll get a few more. I will be building some new power supplies for these guys as well, using some Meanwheel power supplies that are coming as well. And yeah, cleaning, lots of cleaning. Some of those cases, ugh, those look disgusting. Maybe I'll share that with you, maybe I won't. Have a great day. Thanks for watching and sticking with me. Bye-bye.